Michael, it's cliche. We said it last week. We said it the week before. We started with 68. We are down to four. The final four is set for this weekend. By the time this airs on Saturday, we will have our semifinal matchups. We will have our national championship game on Monday night. We have Illinois, who knocked off Iowa in one region, going up against UConn, who upset Duke. We will talk at length about that game here in a moment. And then the other side is the matchup that a lot of us thought was going to be inevitable. There were some people that were thinking, with the way that that everything was going to fill in, that this could have been a national championship preview, because these were the two teams outside of Duke late in the year that were 1-2 for most of the season, and that's Arizona against Michigan. Unbeknownst to your hatred of one of those schools. But Michael, I mean, could this have actually been one of the, like, a complete tale of 2 days? Is that we had two floor wipings on Saturday, and then we had two of the better games of the entire tournament, including arguably one of the best finishes in the history of college basketball on Sunday.
It really is. It really is. It is the tale of two different scenarios in the regional finals. Michigan and Arizona just pimp slapped the two teams they played. Um, I really didn't see much of either one of those games. I did tune into the Illinois Iowa game a little bit because it was two Big Ten teams. It was really nice to see Illinois back there. It's the first time in a while that they've been back to the Final Four, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
Um, but I
I
mean,
want to say it
listen,
was. I want to say it was 2009, if I'm not mistaken.
okay. So right now, as far as the conference count, you got the Big East, the Big Ten, and the Pac-12 in the Final Four. Not the Pac-12, excuse me, the Big 12 in the Final Four. I don't think we thought that was going to happen that way, but you know what? It is what it is. Uh, the Michigan was handled their business really easily. So did Arizona. The Illinois Iowa game was great. I mean, that was as good of a game as you could see. And then, dude, the freaking game of the year was the UConn Duke game. Um,
Maybe
I
half
was,
of the maybe the half of the year, because for the first half of that game,
yeah,
it wasn't a game. And if we want to basically back up for a moment, when we actually started play on Saturday, when those regional finals were going to be developed, we had a legitimate scenario that we could have had we could have had in all Big Ten Final Four. Michigan,
yeah,
we could have had Michigan. We could, you were going to get one or the other between Iowa and Illinois. Michigan State had a shot, and then why am I drawing a blank here?
Purdue,
Purdue.
Purdue. Hey, listen, if we'd have had an all Big Ten Final Four, I think the other conferences' heads would have exploded because that'd be the two major sports in the last 3 or 4 years that have gone the way of the Big Ten.
And if you think about it, it also would have been the true Big Ten. It would not have been the blown out Big Ten. Where and what I even mean by that is not really, since the conference expanded from Penn State and Rutgers being added in and everything. We're talking like teams that have been, or Maryland, you know, just core Big Ten teams. I mean, the Big Ten, at least in the basketball sense, the blue bloods.
Yeah, and Big Ten blue bloods in the sense of the Big Ten in general, with all the expansion we've had in the last several years, the Big Ten has gone to the Big Ten of what, 18. Now it's insanity. Big Ten's got manifest destiny like the country had in the 1800s. I mean, it's sick, if you ask me. But my most interesting thing about the weekend, and especially that Duke UConn game, is something you said to me the other day on Monday when we talked about it. Um, when either one of these two teams play, the winner ends up winning the national title, which sets us on this question. And we talked about asking this question on the show. James, is Dan Hurley the best coach in college basketball?
I think it's without question right now. And could we actually be talking that it's not always the best team, but it's the hottest team? From the four teams that are there, Arizona looked dominant. I don't know if anybody's going to beat Michigan. Um, Illinois is playing with house money. Did UConn find their groove, realize that they're going for three titles in 4 years? And is UConn now the team to beat?
I would have to say yes. Um, James, quick question for you. You are a college basketball junkie and historian. Can you name me the last college basketball coach to win 3 championships in 4 years?
I don't know if John Wooden counts
John Wooden does
here.
count.
John Wooden does count. Krzyzewski never went on that run because his 5 national championships were spread out over the course of 25 years. Roy Williams only had 3 in his career. Bill Self, I think, has only got 2. Um, Dean Smith didn't go on that great of a run, even though he's got, I want to say he's got 6. I take that back. I think Dean Smith's got 4. Um, Jim Calhoun only got 2 with UConn. Rick Pitino didn't go on that great of a heater. I mean, I think the obvious choice is John Wooden.
And that is the answer. Is the obvious choice is the answer. When you are putting your name up there, possibly with John Wooden, I don't think there's a question if you're one of the best, if not the best coach in the game right now. No disrespect to Izzo and Calipari, and of course Rick Pitino, and even some of the guys, the younger ones. What's Duke's coach's name again? It's
John Shire.
escaping my mind. John Shire is a phenomenal basketball coach, but he's not Dan Hurley. Did you see the reaction of his mother's reaction to that shot?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, read her lips. That's hilarious.
She wasn't praying, if we can quote Dan and Keith.
No, she wasn't. But let's talk about the tale of two halves that this game was. In the first half, the Boozer Twins and Duke dominated. It almost looked like UConn came out flat. I didn't watch the game live. I did go back and watch the majority of it on YouTube. But it looked like to me they came out a little flat and a little surprised by some of the things tactically Shire was doing to mess with their heads on the offensive and defensive ends.
That's exactly what it was. They were putting, off ball pressure on Carabin. They couldn't get their looks. They were stuffing the middle. They had phenomenal ball movement. They were using a lot of ball screens and a lot of pick and rolls. They were getting their shots, and UConn just came out shell shocked. And I think this was more a matter of them, of not so much Duke losing it, but UConn coming away and taking it, realizing how good UConn is, that they were in the Final Four 2 years ago, winning the damn thing, as and really nobody challenged them the whole damn tournament. I don't think that this, and here's the irony about this. In the first half, every single one of us who watched that game, and when we saw that Duke was up by 19 and went into the half by 15, a lot of us either did one of two things: is we either changed the channel or we kept it on in the background and put the TV on mute, thinking this thing's over. They're going to Indianapolis. John Shire is going to actually look for his first title, taking over from Coach K. And yet, for as much as they did right in terms of the Boozer boys, they cost Duke in the final 10 seconds.
They did. That was a very ill-advised way to inbound and pass that ball. in that. But I want to talk more about what UConn did
You
tactically.
shouldn't have even passed the ball. You hold on to the ball and then you take your foul shots. What they were doing is still boggling everyone's mind. Everyone's reaction I've seen, including the UConn student radio call, were wondering what the hell are they doing passing the ball?
Yeah, they definitely should have taken the foul there because you would have put the game out of reach. Or at worst, if this kid hits that shot from there, you're tied. If you make one
Right.
of them.
Because at
Uh,
because at that point you still have 8 seconds to get across the timeline. There were 9 seconds left in the game. You
yeah,
could have actually taken the
I think he
ball,
was worried.
waited until 2 seconds left, thrown it into the backcourt at that point, or or just done something, or taken the ball and thrown it 40 feet in the air.
Yeah, and I think it was more he was worried about getting across the timeline and not getting the violation to where they'd get the ball in their end of the Duke's defensive end of the floor. I want to talk about Dan Hurley being the best in-game adjustment coach I've ever seen. Because you can't be losing by 19 in the first half and flip the script that quickly if you're not so good at making adjustments. It's not even funny. Now, here's a question. Was it his guy who was just hired at BC that made the adjustments? Because most of the adjustments were done on the offensive end of the game to get their looks and to get their shots and to get their the ability to do a better job offensive rebounding in the second half. Is that guy staying with Dan Hurley, or is he gone now to where, as good as Dan Hurley is he losing his right hand at the wrong time?
I I think as long as Dan Hurley is still the guy riding the ship, it doesn't matter who's on his staff. I really don't.
Oh, that's
I
fair.
think he's just that good. Um, we saw with there's just certain coaches that have it. Izzo got himself to another Elite Eight with a Michigan State team that not a whole lot of people really talked about all year, and got dominated by Michigan twice this season. Um, we saw Shire get to another um, Elite Eight. We saw Florida get a number one seed, even though they went out in the second round because their talent played down to their opponent's strengths. Um, Kelvin Sampson, you can't let one bad half of and them getting upset by Illinois diminish the fact that he's still a Hall of Famer and he's honestly the best coach never to win a championship, really, in our lifetime. I mean, John Thompson won one. John Chaney, I thought was insanely overrated in terms of the guys who, you know, we remember as established great coaches, names that we can pick out that were there. Well, then again, I take that back. As long as Mark Few has not won a championship at Gonzaga, you know, um, his name's always going to be number two on that list.
Yeah, Mark Few. Is it just me, dude, or does he got to leave there to get a title?
Well, I mean, I think Mark Few is only going to hang around a couple more years, and then he's going to flat out retire. I mean, he's certainly a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's got 500 wins, so he's hit that benchmark. He's got 3 Final Fours. He's been to a national championship game. They were, I mean, granted, they got ran off the floor in the second half against Baylor in the COVID bubble, but remember, they went into that championship game undefeated, looking to be the first one since Bobby Knight to get there.
Jeez, that's right. I'm interested. I'm very interested in this weekend. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to watch. I'll be traveling this weekend as we are off next week. Why did that strike me as funnier than it actually was? But Jim, if you had to make a pick right now, who's your final game?
I think without question, it's Michigan and UConn.
We all know who I'll be rooting for in that game.
If you had to pick a champion right now,
Dan Hurley gets number 3. I don't think you catch the momentum like that, like you did against that team, a team as good as Duke was, and do what you did and not finish the whole thing.
I would love to see it, but there's part of me that actually thinks Dusty May and the boys in Ann Arbor have really got something cooking right now, and just the way that they are beating the snot out of teams, you know, they're on such a heater right now. I don't know even if Dan Hurley can stop them.
We'll see. So, James, we are through the first full week of the Major League Baseball season, and we have seen some things we did not expect to see. I asked you a question on Monday. I will ask you here on the air. Who in the fuck does Chase DeLauder think he is? Seriously, this dude is amazing. I don't know what happened yet tonight, but I know the Guards are up 2-0 in LA right now. I haven't seen power from the left-hand side in that uniform since Jim Thome.
Arias hit a home run. Schneemann scored on a throwing error from the catcher. So they're looking to actually end up. They're looking to take 2 out of 3 from the world champion Dodgers. The Guardians are, before they get tomorrow off and then come home for their home opener. And as a Clevelander, Michael, I told you about this the other day. Very, very cool moment. Who is throwing out the first pitch at the home opener at Progressive Field on Friday?
Oh, the hockey player. What's her name?
Layla Edwards.
That's it. I don't know why I blanked on her name just now, but I remember when you said that is a very cool moment. That is an awfully cool moment.
I hope that they introduce her as the greatest athlete to ever come out of Cleveland Heights, like she did on Kelsey's podcast.
That's amazing. I mean, that was one of my favorite moments of anything any of the Kelseys have done, when Jason was like, "That's fair. That's beautiful." Jim, anything jump out at you the first week of the season? I mean, I have my observations of my boys, of course, which, one of those today. But anything jump out to you just picking up the first week and seeing what we got going on?
I can easily name 3 things. The Marlins starting out 5-1, the Red Sox starting out 1-5, and we all know that that's subject. And really, and we're going to probably talk about this at length tonight. Really, how much we're going to see a shift towards robot umpires in many, many, many more facets of the game over the course of the next few years. Baseball is not going to have a choice but to actually move towards technology.
I think they're going to, I like the ABS challenge system. I really do. I think it's very well done. I think it's been very well handled. But if you look at the stats, first of all, the pitchers have gotten challenges right 65% of the time. That's not saying 65% of the calls are wrong. That's saying 65% of the time a pitcher or a catcher went like this, they've been correct. Batters only 40%. So I will say this, other than CB Buckner, who we'll talk about in a minute, and I need to get your reaction to what I said to you today in text. Other than CB Buckner, I'll be honest with you, I haven't had much of a problem with the way the games have been called. Luckily, with T-Mobile and having the MLB package because of them, I have been able to watch every Met game. And when I say watch, I mean boom, I'm in it. I even had it on at work today.
You even were able to watch today's loss.
Dude, shut up.
My Cardinals are gonna finish in the basement. They've already taken 2 out of 3. I'll enjoy this while I can.
Yeah, no, my other buddy, who he's a friend of mine from New York, and he was like, "Hey, look, we took 2 out of 3 from you." I'm like, "That's great, that's wonderful. They're 3-3. I'm not worried. It's the first. It's not even April yet. Can we calm down?" It was nice to see Paul Skeens bounce back today, pitch well against Philly, to have his bullpen blow it in the 9th inning. But I'm telling you, man, by the way, Ohtani looked damn good last night. But I will say this: the two teams that I pay attention to, the Guards, of course, and the Mets, have shown me a lot. And then, well, one has shown me a lot with their young players. The other one has made me scratch my bald ass head a little more than I should have recently. Yes, the fact that the Mets can't score runs all of a sudden after dropping 11 on opening day and 6 in the first game against the Cardinals, I don't understand it. I mean, you had to win on a walk-off home run from Luis Robert for game 2. You lose game 3 on a very questionable send by the third base coach on Lindor in extra innings, which I had a problem with. I told you that on Monday. And then you get to the first night in St. Louis. You get good pitching out of Clay Holmes. You got good pitching out of Kodai Senga last night. And then Peralta pitched good today too. The pitching's been there. Once I think it gets a little warmer and they start to hit, this is going to be a different team. The Guards are a different animal, dude. They are just flat out playing good baseball right out of the chute. I hope that they win tonight and take 2 out of 3 from the Dodgers. They took 2 out of 3 in Seattle too, right?
Correct.
So you go on the West. Think about it. You go out to the West Coast, start the year, and you take 2 out of 3 from the defending division champions in Seattle. And if you win tonight, you take 2 out of 3 from the defending world champions in the Dodgers, and then you come home. And if the absolute horrendous shape the Browns are in, and the fact that the Cavs aren't what they were last year, if that building isn't fucking full for the home opener, there are a lot of people in that town, you excluded from this, that need to slap upside their fucking head.
Yeah, but also the weather's supposed to be. Yeah, we all know that the early in the they're going to
Okay.
sell out. They'll sell out. They always sell out opening day, and then they'll get maybe 13,000 on Saturday, and then Easter
Yeah.
Sunday. You know, you might draw 20 and everything just because of the holiday. But it's cold. It's rainy. We had a fucking tornado rip through here yesterday.
I heard.
There was from your folks who are a couple of blocks from me. I'm actually stunned I didn't lose power because they literally said that we had hurricane force winds that topped 85 miles an hour down at Hopkins Airport.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Jesus. Something else that surprised me. I don't know if you saw Pete Alonso hit his first home run in a Baltimore uniform last night off a former teammate, Jacob deGrom.
Yes, I did see that.
But there were 2 funny moments this week that I would like to bring to your attention. The first one was from that same game, as Alonso had gotten on base time before his home run, and deGrom throws over to first base. Alonso goes like this. What are you doing?
Yep. I did see that.
But my favorite moment of the first week was Josh and Bo Naylor at first base the other night in Seattle. Did you see that?
I did not. I heard about it. I did not see it. I will be watching it after we log off tonight.
So Josh Naylor, of course, great first baseman, of course, in Cleveland and now in Seattle. Bo, his younger brother, the catcher in Cleveland. Josh is playing first base. Bo's on first base. Josh goes to take his lead, or Bo goes to take his lead, and Josh is right in his face. So Bo can't see. He's looking over his shoulder, making sure that his brother has no line of sight anywhere. That was fucking beautiful. That was absolutely beautiful.
But we go from the beauty to the absurd. Let's rip the Band-Aid off. Anyone out there knows the names of officials by one of 2 reasons. Number 1, they're beloved with some of the antics that they have, or they call a solid game and they're respected. The other is they are so absolute garbage that their name is synonymous for why the hell are you, the only reason you're still employed is because there's a union.
Yes, I agree. And by the way, is it weird that I'm missing Angel Hernandez because of ABS?
You shut your damn mouth. You get that trash out of here.
Just to see him get made to look like more of a fool than he already was.
CB Buckner, I guarantee by the All-Star break, and I have a reasoning behind this here. is going to get the Angel Hernandez treatment. He's going to be given about $5 million by Major League Baseball to say, hey, go take an early retirement, please.
Yeah, and when we were talking about the ABS system and the umpires, I made a point to you, and you seem to agree with me a little bit. So I just want to go over that here, so it's on video here. I had said what I think you'll see more than robot umpires is you will start seeing the older guys retire faster, where you'll see the younger kids coming up from the minor leagues and being more prominent now. Uh, you know, Buckner is, and I'm sorry, but CB Buckner is an outlier now. These guys are coming up; they're younger. Um, the guy in the Met game today, in the Mets Cardinals game, was amazing. Was so good. I think you're going to see more 85 to 90% calls being correct on the, what is that site that does that? That does that grades the umpires.
I can't think of the name of it, but I know what you mean.
You know what I'm talking about. So like
Yeah.
Buckner, I think he had an 80% correct call rate in
It
that
was
one game.
86. He missed 26 pitches in that game against the Reds that really John Boy and two other major YouTube channels did 5 minutes on him alone. And then the crap that he pulled the very next day.
Yeah, when he wasn't even looking.
Yeah, and called the guy out. Did you hear the Brewers radio, the Brewers TV announcer, what they had said?
No, I did not. What'd they say?
They actually said, what is he looking at? That's absurd. I can't wait to see what he does behind the plate tomorrow. And then he got hit in the mask today with a foul ball off a 100-mile-an-hour Joe Mizorowski foul tip, and had to leave the game in the second inning. And feel bad for him, but you're 63 years old. Get out. The fact that
Yeah,
he makes that call just shows now that he's not the smug look that he's got on his face, the deflated look that he had when he got actually challenged by that Reds hitter on back-to-back pitches and got overruled on both of them. The fact that the Cincinnati crowd cheered louder for the second overturned pitch than they did for a 3-run home run earlier in the inning.
that was funny.
Just shows you how much more Angel Hernandez was incompetent. CB Buckner is just clueless. There's a big difference.
And CB Buckner is the
and I was just going to say, Buckner, by making that call, he's not even paying attention. He's trolling at this point. He knows he's got his money. He knows that he's the last of a dying breed amongst umpires, and he's just basically doing this, try to see on purpose how many people he can piss off.
Yeah, Buckner is to the major leagues what that umpire that made that horrible call just because he was pissy is to college baseball. But
yeah.
the last thing I want to bring up about the umpires, and I want to pivot to one other thing real quick. The guy who did opening day for the Mets, who was Skeen Peralta, I was very excited because I was a pitcher. When I see a marquee pitching matchup like that, I want to see it good. He was so good, Jim. He was so good. I think there were 3 times they tapped the hat, and all 3 times he was overturned. But you're talking, this was literally, they show, at least on SNY, they show how far the pitch missed by or how far it was in the strike zone by.
Yeah.
And we're talking less than an inch. Human beings are human beings. When they're doing their job well, we all miss stuff, even if we do our job well. My issue isn't the missing stuff. It is the egregious missing of stuff.
Yeah. I think they actually said one of the pitchers that Buckner missed was 4.3 inches off the plate. Michael, that's about that wide. That's about the size of 2 baseballs.
Yeah, you don't, in the grand scheme of life, that's not that big. However, when your only job is to call balls and strikes, that's a big miss. And yeah, you're going to miss one or two like that every now and again, just because you are. You're nothing is perfect. One of the most famous pictures in baseball history is Jackie Robinson stealing home plate, and he was out, and they called him safe. So you've seen the missed calls. I mean, if we had replay, Armando Galarraga throws a perfect game. We've seen 1,000 of them. Buckner's taken it to a level where now you're right, he's trolling. It's not incompetence, and it's not even bad eyesight. It's arrogance. When you had said you wanted to go after him tonight, my response to you in text was, it's not nice to make fun of the disabled. I'm not wrong, but as you put it just now, if this is arrogance and trolling, screw him. He needs to go. Or put him in the replay booth full time. Put him in replay
Just so
booth.
this way he can actually stand there and watch just how bad of a job he's doing.
No, put him in the replay booth, because then he only has to do something when someone needs it, and he's got 95 angles to make the call.
And he'd still do it wrong on purpose.
Probably.
Michael, we're just a few weeks away from the NFL draft and our Wisey extravaganza with the boys. We've got a couple of surprises in the tank here for that, but before we get there, there's still some potential of some major wheeling and dealing involved, as we know that the Max Crosby thing fell through. From him being traded from the Raiders to the Ravens. There's still a lot of people that think that he could end up being dealt to a team such as the Cowboys. He could end up going to Buffalo. But there was another major piece of information that came out earlier this week, and that was the Cleveland Browns restructuring Myles Garrett's contract, and it's definitely not something that happened before, especially with what they do with the Deshaun Watson contract to be able to free up salary cap money. But then the speculation began, because nobody was ever going to pick up the Deshaun Watson contract with his injury history. Myles Garrett is a very, very wet morsel on the NFL plate. And it led a lot of people to speculate, could the Browns be moving Myles Garrett?
Well, let's put it this way. I don't think Andrew Berry wants to be known as the guy who traded for Deshaun Watson and traded Myles Garrett out of Cleveland. So let's talk about self-preservation for a minute. He has come out publicly and said, listen, we didn't do this so we could trade him. We did this and he gave his reasons, and I tuned him out. But I don't think he's that stupid. I don't think he's that stupid. We talked about this before on the show. He's not a bad GM, but he made the colossal bonehead move of the history of the NFL in trading for Deshaun Watson and giving up what he did to trade for Deshaun Watson. Trading Myles Garrett at this point in time would be the dumbest thing anyone has ever done, especially if you've got Deshaun on your resume. I think they did this to free up some cap. I think they did this because they're going to try and do something else in free agency before the draft. What they do would be telling us what they're going to do at number 6. We've speculated that we think it's going to be Carnell Tate from Ohio State, the wide receiver, which wouldn't be a bad thing. Or it could be an offensive lineman. Again, not a bad thing for all the needs that the Browns have. As far as Crosby goes, don't count the Bears out.
I'm hearing
the Bears have got to put some goodwill back in the community, especially with all this we may be leaving Chicago bullshit that's going on. I don't think you have a choice but to try and make a splash to get a player of Max Crosby's ilk. First of all, it would probably make them the favorite to win the AFC or NFC North if they did that. But it also puts some goodwill with the fan base. Ryan Poles has done a phenomenal job putting this team together. You go out and get Max Crosby, that's a feather in the cap, and that is now a defense that quite honestly has the one piece they're missing, and that's a pass rush.
I completely agree with that. But let's actually, Barry came out and said, um, he's going to be a Brown for life. And it kind of mirrors the comments that were made last year when Garrett demanded the trade and then just not even 2 weeks later was signed to, at the time, that record contract, only to be topped by the petty little bitch TJ Watt and then Trey Hendrickson, who then moved on himself. But the idea that they may not be doing anything this year to be able to position themselves to maybe trade him for 2 first-round draft picks next year, when not only would that fall off, but then you also have the ability to release Deshaun Watson out of his contract, and then stoking the pot, saying that there's always the possibility that they could end up re-signing and extending Deshaun. Could we lose the fan base anymore as you're on your way to losing the job before that new stadium is even, because they just started digging out, the land a few weeks ago and it's still progressing through, as we speak. So, I mean, by later this summer, we're going to be able to see some sort of structure out there in terms of, everything being cleared out, start seeing them digging down further to be able to get a foundation at least set before next winter falls in. If this one ever friggin' ends, at this point, up here. But you're absolutely right. How do you do this close to the draft where everyone's immediately going to think they're setting up to move him? And how could you think of
Well,
doing
let's
that when when everyone's major focus is getting the guy that you want off the books off the books?
let's go here. First of all, Miles would be 3 first-round picks. Don't get it twisted. If Deshaun
This
was three
year he
first
would be
round picks, the guy
3.
would,
Next year you tack on it, he'd be 31, 32 at that point. You might get 2 firsts and maybe a second. I don't know if you're going to, unless he has like 16, 15, 16, 17 sacks this year, I think you'll get 2 out of him.
I still think it's 3 because as much as TJ Watt now makes what $5 more than Miles does, he's not Miles. Miles set that record without a competent D end on the other side pass rushing, and with the most double teams and missed holds in the NFL, and he set the record.
And the other part that we're forgetting, the most inept offense in the NFL in 10 years that couldn't stay on the field, so that's why he was on the field for so much.
Exactly. Now let's move to that side of the ball and bring up the whole Deshaun Watson thing. I've been a proponent of Shedeur Sanders. I think he is better than what his draft stock was. And I think he was better than his performance this year. Because for everybody talking shit, the one thing that talking heads miss is context. And the context is very simple. Bottom 3 offensive line, bottom 2 bottom 3 offensive line, bottom 2 wide receiver room, middle of the road tight end room because of injury, and middle of the road running back room because of injuries. I don't care who the fuck you are. If your number 1 wide receiver can't catch a fucking cold, and the rest of your wide receiver room is the best of who cares, you're not going to win. I said this to you on the air. I said it to you personally. The Browns need to try the one thing they haven't done since 1999, and that's build around a quarterback. They've never built around one. They really didn't build around Baker. They didn't. As much as people say, oh, the offensive, no, they did not build around Baker Mayfield. They got Jarvis before the draft. Didn't know they were taking Baker number 1. It's very known that what was the GM's name then? What was the GM that John Dorsey.
John Dorsey.
John Dorsey really didn't make the decision on who was going number one in that draft until probably a week before the draft. So you weren't building around Baker. You were just building a roster. Build around Shedeur. Take his skill set. And he's a pocket passer, Jim. He's not a hybrid quarterback. He wants to sling it. Give him a pass blocking offensive line. Give him a running game. Give him a wide receiver at number one who can catch the fucking ball. And if you're terrible, you still have a high draft pick to get a quarterback next year.
Because you also, the other piece of news that came out about him is he's switching his number to 2. I guarantee he has one bad game out of the chute next year. Here come the couch comparisons. Here come the Johnny comparisons.
He's more couch than Johnny because he actually works. I'm sure if you looked at his iPad time, it's a hell of a lot more than Johnny's was. But Jim, compare him to Couch. What didn't Couch have? A fucking team around him.
Difference is Couch got them to a playoff one year, and Shedeur is basically going to be off the squad by the end of the season if he comes out flat. He's got to actually show, even with that rebuild offensive line and the money that they're spending on it, and getting Carnell Tate at 6 is a good idea. It's not going to fix anything in the grand scheme of things. Njoku is gone now. You got a lot out of Fannin, but you got to remember Fannin was a rookie last year. Fannin right now is the best receiver that you have as a tight end. You got to be able to get more progression with your receivers, and then you're going to add another rookie in there that, we thought that Marvin Harrison was going to be the end-all be-all in Arizona, and they don't have a great quarterback option. And now look, there's already people talking that, could the Cardinals move him? Is Tate really going to make that big a difference, even if the offensive line gets better and they address those needs? If Sanders doesn't start to progress, he'll be gone. They'll move Garrett. And then we've got the ultimate Cleveland thing. And no, it's not Todd Monken missing the coach's photo because he was getting a haircut.
For the coach's photo.
But we're talking about the Browns rebuilding in the middle of a rebuild.
It's like a fourth wall break inside of a fourth wall break. I'm going to say, let's close on this if we could, because we spent way too much time on the Browns before the draft without figuring out how they're going to fuck up harder. No, Carnell Tate doesn't fix the problems. Not saying that, but Carnell Tate gives you a wide receiver who can catch the fucking ball. You brought up Marvin. I'm sorry, but if an Oompa Loompa was throwing me the football, I wouldn't be able to catch it either.
As I just realized, we've been taping for nearly an hour, and I never plugged my microphone in.
Oh. Do not cut that from this episode.
Oh, I will. I will not. And you know why? You know why that happened?
Why?
Because what are we talking about?
The Browns. We're the Cleveland Browns.
Would you shut up and just push the button already?
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
It's the YZ Translator on the Wise Guys Sports Show.
I'm forever unclean.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is the YZ Translator. It is the best segment of the night because it is the last segment of the night. It is a time when James and I give each other names inside or outside of the sports world, and the first thing that pops into our minds is what we give to you. And most of the time, we try and be funny, and then we fall very flat at other times, like I'm falling flat right now.
Hmm.
So, James, I'd like to bring back a segment from our live show. And that is tonight, James, I would like to give to you the Big Rican number of the week.
I am not creating a special Chiron for this. That's for the
okay.
live shows.
That's okay. So, James, it's actually a scoreboard that I'm going to give you, and that scoreboard is 2-0. And it leads right into who you get for the YZ Translator. And do you know what the scoreboard it generates, or it is emblematic of?
Italy losing out on the World Cup again?
No. It is the lead in DUI tickets that are your tonight's subject to the Translator gets over John Daly. And tonight's subject for you, James, is Tiger Woods.
He wasn't looking at the wheel. He was looking at his phone. He was under the influence. It's like, dude, you are the richest athlete on the planet, even more than LeBron James. Call a fucking Uber, take a year away, go overseas, get out of the country, go rail the Cheeto's daughter, that you're dating now, and get the hell away from us. Please. I've been saying for 3 years, get away from the PGA Tour. Now, please just get away from us. The only reason you should be in this country is for when season 3 of the Golf League starts.
Agreed. And I still find it very funny that John Daly's never gotten a TWI and Tiger's got 2.
That we know of.
That we know of. I'm sure there are some that have been fixed, but it was a picture came up and it's Daly smoking a cigarette about to throw it out, and Tiger looking at him and goes, when John Daly has less Deweys than Tiger.
Michael, your name in the YZ Translator tonight made their return to television in the world of pro wrestling tonight after being gone for the near part of a year. And he always gives us good fodder. And he didn't come up on the first Translator, but he also came up on arguably one of our best, because I think it might have been our very first OTR. And your name is the one, the only, the Ayatollah of rock and rolla, Chris Jericho.
As long as I'm on the list, I'm good. And it wasn't the first OTR, because that, of course, was with Willie.
Yeah.
Close your mouth, Mike. But that was one of the 2 from my final episode in New York. The other one, of course,
that was with Alex for Spit Take.
Yeah, that was from the Spit Take too. When I did the Pillsbury Doughboy thing, and you just lost your shit. So, James, just to wrap up the show tonight, we are off next week. I will be traveling to said state of New York to see my older 2 for the first time since I moved to Brunswick. And it's something that not only myself, but the whole family's been looking forward to. I get Snapchats from both kids and hear from Bobby every day. How many more days till we go? Also, I want to give an early shout out as the unofficial mascot of our show. Not mascot, but, our cuteness insertion for the show. James, Bobby will be 5 a week from Saturday.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
But can you believe you and I have been doing this show longer than he's been alive?
Oh, wait. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it right.
Do it.
So the combination is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's the stupidest combination I ever heard in my life.
I can't believe it. The same combination I have on my luggage.
No. You're not putting that up on the camera like you showed me right before we started taping an hour ago.
I wasn't going to put it on the camera.
Because that the way that ends creeps me the F out, dude.
He looks like a very tanned farmer Fran from The Waterboy. End it.
I hate you so much. I hate you,
You love
so
it. You
much.
know it.
It's a lot less than I did 30 seconds ago.
We'll see you guys in 2 weeks.